Sarah needed a change. Divorce, job loss. Life had dealt her a harsh hand. The old Victorian house, with its peeling paint and overgrown ivy, seemed like the perfect escape. It was a fresh start, a chance to rebuild. She ignored the whispers of the townsfolk, their warnings about the house's past. It was just an old house, she told herself, full of forgotten stories. As she stepped across the threshold, a shiver ran down her spine. The air inside was cold, stagnant. Dust motes danced in the faint sunlight filtering through grimy windows. The house felt heavy, burdened. She unpacked boxes, each item a reminder of a life left behind. Her footsteps echoed in the silence, the only sound her own breathing. As dusk settled, shadows stretched across the walls, twisting familiar shapes into menacing forms. That's when she first heard them. Faint whispers, barely audible, slithering through the empty halls. They seemed to come from the walls themselves, murmuring secrets in the darkness. She told herself it was the wind, the house settling. But deep down, a seed of unease began to sprout. Days turned into weeks, the whispers into a constant companion. They seemed to grow stronger at night, weaving around her dreams, pulling her into their depths. The house felt alive, watching her, judging her. Each creak of the floorboard, each rustle of leaves against the window pane sent a jolt of fear through her. She tried to ignore the whispers, to lose herself in books and music, but the silence was always broken, invaded by those disembodied voices. One night the whispers escalated into a chorus. They swirled around her, pronouncements of fear and despair. "Get out," they hissed. "Leave this place." She pressed her hands against her ears, but the voices penetrated, echoing in her skull. Driven to the edge, she confronted the darkness. "Who are you?" she cried out, her voice trembling. "What do you want?" The only response was a chilling silence, the whispers abruptly cut short, leaving behind a hollow emptiness that was more terrifying than the noise. Desperate for answers, Sarah sought out the town historian. He was a frail old man, his eyes filled with a lifetime's worth of secrets. He listened intently to her story, his gaze fixed on some distant point beyond the dusty books lining his shelves. "The house," he began, his voice a dry rasp. "It has a dark past." He spoke of the land the house was built on, a place of sorrow and madness. An asylum once stood there, he revealed, his voice barely a whisper. But it was consumed by fire, a tragedy that claimed the lives of all within. He spoke of patients, their minds ravaged by illness, their cries for help silenced by the flames. Their anguish, he said, his gaze locking with Sarah's, it seeped into the very foundation of this house. His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. Sarah finally understood. The whispers weren't meant to scare her away. They were cries for help, for recognition, echoing through time. That night Sarah lay awake, the historian's words echoing in her mind. The whispers seemed different now, filled with a deep sorrow. Then a sound, different from the whispers, cut through the silence, a low groan emanating from the depths of the house. She got out of bed, drawn by an unseen force, and followed the sound to the basement. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of mildew and decay. In the far corner, a crack snaked down the wall, spider-webbing across the aged brick. As she watched, the crack widened, the groan intensifying. Dust and debris rained down as the wall buckled inward, and then something reached out. A hand, skeletal and pale, its fingers grasping for purchase in the air. Terror rooted Sarah to the spot, her breath caught in her throat. The hand retreated, the wall groaning once more before falling silent. The crack remained, a gaping wound in the fabric of the house. The whispers ceased, replaced by an unnerving silence. Sarah fled, her heart pounding in her chest. The house remained silent and imposing, but some things Sarah knew could never be silenced. They lingered, hidden in the shadows, whispering their secrets to those who dared to listen.